Black revolutionaries, distillery owners, Italian fashion retailers, and Motown Grammy winners all share their best stories never before told in any other media outlets on Detroit is Different. Visit DetroitisDifferent.com or download the Detroit is Different app on Apple's App Store or Google's Play Store.
All right, welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And I have in-house, I'm so overusing like somebody that should have been here, but really, seriously, this woman should have been here a long time ago. It's a movement, it's a brand, but also someone that is really the foundation of a whole lot of what I do. People always say, Car, you're doing stuff for the community. Car, you're doing something that's good for the people. Car, you're connecting things for people that don't have things. And I look at that and say, I really like some podcasts and I like tech and I'm letting some people in on some of the stuff I like. This woman actually is doing what some of the people say I'm always doing. Mama Shu, Mama Shamayin, how are you doing?
I am doing just great. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
All is well with you?
Oh, everything is everything, through all of it. The myriad of emotions, as they say, the ups, the downs, the all arounds. I know I'm living, and that right there, I think, is the essence of life. Is,
Yes.
You connect with so much of that essence. And naturally, it connects us to speak. We're going to talk Avalon Village for everybody on here. And I know you all want to get straight to that, but we go on Detroit is Different style. And we
Yes.
start with your family story. Who was the first person in your family to make their way to the Detroit area?
I believe it was my grandfather.
Okay.
My grandfather, which is my mother's father. He's an ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
And they came from down south, Alabama, Mississippi area. I don't know exactly where.
Okay.
And so they were over there by where Chrysler and Werner, they lived over there in that area, and they grew up over there.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, they lived in Detroit.
Okay.
They lived in Detroit, North End area. Yeah, that's where they lived, in the North End area.
That whole footprint of the North End.
Mm-hmm.
So when they made their ways here, you don't remember Alabama or whether Mississippi, but it's the Southern Belt.
Yes.
So you must have had one of those grandfathers that's like, I left and I ain't going back.
Yes, that's what it was. Look, didn't even hardly talk about that part, actually. I'm sitting there
Hey, granddaddy, what was A?
Right. But yeah, it was like that. And so that, and that's what, and then my mother, they lived in Detroit most of their lives. I grew up on the east side of Detroit, Field Street, actually, between Palmer and Medbury.
Okay.
Went to Rose Elementary School,
Okay.
which is on, Van Dyke?
Yeah.
Right at Palmer, I believe.
So within this, in this era, we're not going to age set so much, but many things have shifted.
Yes.
But that Detroit, I'm going to say like that feel, I'm going to just say that 70s, 80s era was unique. But let's talk a little bit more even to your mom and your father's story of what their stories were. Your father, how did he make his way to the city?
My father they came from North Carolina.
Oh, so you know that one.
Yeah, they came
Okay.
from North Carolina. His father did.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother, she didn't go. She was from Detroit.
So she had roots back.
Yes, she was from Detroit.
So she looked at the rest of your family like, look at these country, look at these country people, asking when the Georgia pecans taste good.
Yes. Yeah, and so so that was that side.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they lived, and he also grew up on Pennsylvania Street between Charlevoix and Gothey. And that's where he owns a house right now, actually,
Wow.
still over there.
Okay, that whole footprint. So now I really want to get into that one grandmother that was here even before. Do you remember stories about her?
The grandmother, which one?
The one that was here already in the Detroit area. So I guess that would have been your father's mother.
My father's mother. No, except for when I was a child, I would go over there and spend the night. All of my, every weekend, over there in the two-family flat that they owned.
Okay.
We had a neighbor upstairs. Her name was Ada, and her two boys, and we would play with them when we would go over there on the weekend. So I don't really know
A lot of those stories per se.
Yeah, I know grandparents or great grandparents. Now I did know my great grandmother, my mother's grandmother.
Okay.
And we lived together for a while with my grandmother and my mother. We all stayed on Field Street together in a home. Yep.
What was that like?
And she died in like 81 or 82. And she was quiet. Her name was Janie. She was quiet. And she was elderly at that time.
Okay.
You know, so it wasn't a lot of conversation, but my grandmother and my grandfather took care of her until she died.
Elder care then.
Yep.
Okay, so we're speaking of that. Parents, where did they work at? What was their lifestyle? What do you remember about your parents when you were a kid?
So I remember that my dad, he was in the Army. He was in the Army. This is like early stories of like him and my mom together. And my mother, she used to work at a bank. And this was earlier on. Then she worked at, this place doesn't exist anymore. It's called Rehabilitation Institute. And she was like a medical transcriber. That was like her job. And she loved giving parties and cabarets too with her best friend. So they did that to make money too. It was called the B&C Sociables.
1 second, the B&C Sociable.
Yes.
And we're definitely going to unpack that. You know, my parents met at what I've learned was a cola party. And I often tell people this. So it's like a cost of living adjustment party.
Oh.
So oftentimes, because this was just so entrenched in the culture of Detroit, people knew when you would get a raise working at, you know, the big four at one point in time, or the big three. So when people had an extra raise, it's like, we're going to throw a rent party. We're gonna do something over here. Like some of the old school basements, if you ever buy a Detroit house, it'll be like a bar and like disco furniture. And you
Sweet
like,
down there.
who was doing a nightclub in here? And it's like everybody, depending upon it, the old school, like the red light, the house with the red light, porch light.
Yep, that's the place to be.
So that was something that, okay, do you remember anything about those parties?
I do remember those parties because we had those parties.
Okay.
We had those parties, and I remember the grown-ups having those parties too for those specific reasons, you know, and playing cards.
Okay.
And just having a good time. I remember what is it? What is the name of the liquor? Look, Canadian. It was whiskey.
Okay.
That being on the table and the neighbors being around playing cards and everything. It was just so beautiful to me back then. Looking at them socialize and have a good time. No issues and everything. It was just a good thing. I was really a neighborhood girl.
I do have this question about that because, you know me, I love music. What was the music situation at those parties? Who was the DJ? Who was controlling the needle? What was that like?
So I'm gonna tell you this: my mother loved records. She had so much vinyl. She had the record player. We'd be in the den. She would play her albums. We loved Barry White.
Okay.
All of that, Earth, Wind, and Fire. These are the things that my mom would play over and over. Stevie Wonder. She loved music so much, so she would be the one. And my grandfather, he worked at the plant for like 40 years, Chrysler. And my grandmother, which is my mother's mother, she didn't work. I never saw her work. She stayed at the house, and she made breakfast for him when he got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and gave him buttermilk. And you know, this is what, that was just in the morning, and 4 o'clock he'd go, and it was just like every day. But yeah, I remember those.
So your mom rocked the needle. She
my
was the
mom,
DJ.
she rocked the needle. She's the one that, my mom was like the sociable one, as far as like having parties and getting everybody together and let's go to Cedar Point and let's go bowling and even on holidays, we'd all pile in like 3 cabs and we would go down to the Adams Theater. And we were all dressed up in our Easter stuff with cute socks on. And so all of us is all dressed up. And we go in there and we get popcorn. And so we go in there and look at Blackula or whatever was showing.
Mama
karate
Walde.
movies. Yes.
Mama Walde.
Bruce Lee, all of that. That's what.
So, you know, me and music still so much because that means your mom had to be the cool mom too, because you're speaking of a 70s experience. So playing Barry White and Earth, Wind, and Fire, some parents I'm sure were like, I'm not listening to that. They were playing like, you know, we gonna stick to what we really grew up on. So they probably had like Nat King Cole and let's see, what else would they be holding on to? Like what they grew up with, you know, Nat King Cole. I'm guessing you go over your other friends' houses. They were listening to like, what's her name? Dionne Warwick, which was contemporary at the time, but she was making music like a Dinah Washington or those singers, a Sarah Vaughan, of that feel. But your mom was like, "Nah, it's new. I'm buying it."
Yeah, she was. She was, and she liked those.
The old school
yes,
stuff too.
but my mom liked Michael. She liked the Jackson 5.
Oh,
I went my very first concert. I went to go see the Jackson 5.
Time
my
out.
mom,
We telling that story.
my mom took me.
We're telling that story.
Yep, I never forget. It was such a cool experience. Okay, so remember I told you about the B&C Sociables? Her best friend, was named Barbara, and they had the cabarets together where she had 2 sons. B&C. Barbara and Christine is her name. And they would have these parties. And so anyway, we met, they had 2 sons. So it was 2 sons, 2 daughters, and we did stuff together as, with us. So it was the 4 kids and it was them. And so we all went to the concert together.
Okay, now we got to talk about this because I think Michael, performed at such a high clip. But obviously the full Jackson 5 too. As I'm one of the few people that is, I don't necessarily know if I want to say I'm a Jermaine Jackson fan, but I definitely like some Jermaine Jackson music,
Yes.
The do what you did to me is in my YouTube collection. But what was it like seeing the Jackson 5? Because I think of first concert experiences, my first concert is still in that arc as my mom had some tickets at Pine Knob because my dad loves James Brown, being from Cincinnati. And my mom she likes James Brown, but this is the arc of if you're a more distinguished northern black person, you probably like more Motown. Them southern black folks like James Brown, Bobby Bland, like just the gritty, that stuff. So we went to Pine Knob to see James Brown as the first concert. And I was thinking like, my dad's music, like I'm going to go see this. It was the most phenomenal experience I think that I ever could have seen. What was Jackson 5 like as a first? And that's like when it was Michael in the mix.
Yes, and we were little, and I mean not little, we were just young doing it. But what I really liked about it is that my mother took us to a concert to actually like doing this thing. I mean, she exposed us to a lot of things, took us to Toronto, first concert. That stuff was important to her. But I loved it. It was just all glitzy from what I can remember. God, I didn't know you were going to have me to recall that. Let me see what I was. It was a good time, though. It was a good time. It was a good experience.
Okay. So let's carry on a little bit more into your story. So you mentioned elementary school, high school. Where were you at?
So high school, my first 2 years of high school, I went to Henry Ford High School.
Okay.
I did the 9th and the 10th grade.
That's deep West. That's
it was.
A whole nother
and
world.
Actually 2 years before that, I went to Emerson Middle School for the 8th grade. The 6th and 7th grade, I went to, it was called Holy Name of Jesus. It was a Catholic school.
Oh,
so man. I went there. Then the 8th grade, because I moved that far west, just for 4 years. And then I went to Henry Ford for the 9th and 10th, and then we moved back to the east side.
Okay.
And then I came back and moved back on field and then enrolled in Kettering High School. And then I graduated from Kettering.
So you walked into Kettering and your people were like, hey, where you been?
Yes. Well, and the thing about it is, actually, some of them did, only the neighborhood people
kids,
did, because I went that 8th grade year. I didn't go to Barber like some of the other kids. I just was over there on the west side. Okay. So, I just felt a little bit, not like I was an outsider, but I did feel that way a little bit because I didn't have the junior high experience with them. I went to the Catholic school, and then I went that 8th grade at Emerson junior high, and then went to the Henry Ford. So I had to develop new friends when I got in the 11th grade. So a lot of the east side
people
connections and friendships and everything, they started around that time, around the 11th grade. Besides neighborhood, I'm talking about like school-wise, was 11th grade.
Okay. So this definitely leads me to ask this question, as I know he's in that footprint and one of my big homies. How far was Daoud Muhammad in his Kettering journey when you were at KE?
So they were before me.
They
were a few years before me.
I figured that.
So they're like my big brothers and sisters. Yep.
Okay, so you don't really remember him?
No.
Okay.
I didn't know them.
Okay.
At that time, nope, I
learned
didn't.
Later at a
learned later, like, what? Y'all went to KE? That big old giant blue K. Yes, that's us. Yes, KE.
And let me say this: of the schools that no longer exist, when it comes to the alumni picnics experience, and I'm the Northwestern president. But I'm gonna tell you something. It's two high schools that have a neighborhood picnic that'll blow you away. One is McKenzie, and the other is your school.
That's right.
If you go, if you're around that whole 90, like, okay, if it's the Kettering all alumni picnic, and you happen to think that I'm gonna get off the Van Dyke exit of 94, you will be like, "What in the world is going on right now?" And
all
it'll be
picnics. They party.
Oh yeah,
Kettering. I'm telling you, it's just, and if I was to pick the experience that meant the most to me as it relates to high school and the friends developed, it would be Kettering, and the ones that I still have right now that are just still intact, 30 years, 40 years plus. It would be the ones that I developed at Kettering High School. And yes, I do attend the alumni events. We go to They Say because our boy Terry Payne, we go. I mean, it's just like, that's what we do,
Oh yeah.
Let's go eat some chicken with them from They Say. And we always make a joke. We ain't going nowhere except for They Say because that's our boy's restaurant. We going to support him, but it's a lot of fun. Then we all just meet up there, but most of our events and everything are centered around They Say, and also, like you said, around that area. It was just, it was beautiful.
It's a different, being in this, and shout out to DPSCD for looking together it'll be like an all alumni DPS pick event coming up soon. Tyrone Winfrey is working on that, and then my homie Joy is putting a little bit of that together. But it's just different fields culturally. So it's like a couple in Northwestern. We cover a heck of a footprint. But I've bumped into the McKenzie and Kettering, and I've been to some stuff for Cooley. So for people that's like, oh, you ain't seen Cooley, I've seen Cooley, Redford, Murray Wright. I've touched it all, and I'm telling you, if you can spend. Really, you may need to block out about 4 hours to go to the Kettering.
Sure do.
You may need about 4 hours. And come with an empty stomach, and come already with like an empty red cup because you're going to have to act like, hey, I already had enough. Because
we do it big.
And be ready to play some horseshoes, let's dance the music. You don't want to get out there and no hustle. The Kettering all alumni picnic is something. It's a cultural experience.
It is.
So moving from there, after KE, where were you at in your journey?
So after KE, I was on the east side, and I started working my very first. I went to Wayne County Community College.
WC3.
Stayed there for maybe a year and a half, and worked at that Elias Brothers that was right there on Jefferson.
Wow, you were at the Belle Isle Big Boys?
Yes, I was.
Okay,
and
so that means you
it.
saw. First off, that means that you probably have many Tommy Hearns stories. Because Tommy Hearns was a fixture at that Big Boys.
Yeah.
My dad almost got into an altercation with Tommy Hearns one time there. It was jokingly, because my dad was debating. He used to play in the Belle Isle Racquetball Club, and he was debating. And he was like, man, but he just never going to beat Sugar Ray. And he said it so loud, and Tommy just like almost walked in, and Tommy just walked up, looked at him, tapped him on the chin or something. The classic stories.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It just, so we stopping there too, because so for people that don't know, at one point in time, the Big Boys or the Elias Brothers, that it's still a spot, a restaurant. I can't believe it's not a restaurant right there. You get off Belle Isle, and it was right there. It almost like that Big Boy seemed to be almost like an extension of Belle Isle, kind of. So
I remember when my mom, when I told you about when it was Easter and different holidays, we'd hop in the cab.
Yeah.
Well, we'd go to Big Boys to go eat first, and then we'd hop back in the cab, and then we would go down to the movies. My mother did all of, she would just take all of, 7 cousins. It was like almost 15 of us. So sometimes we had to get 2 cabs, and we would pop. But that was the Big Boy that we started, that we went to. And so that was one of my first jobs that I ever had, was actually working at Big Boy. And then I started working for Detroit Public Schools. And so, and that was in 1985.
Okay.
And I did all throughout the whole school system, 27 years altogether, with continue working with Aisha Shule, W.B. Du Bois Academy. So altogether 27. But I started at Osborne High School,
The
working there
Bourne.
for
Another
two,
East
two
Side
years
staple.
there. I did 7 years at King High School.
Oh, KC.
Yes, I loved it
Okay.
there.
You basically stayed in that like little footprint almost.
Yeah.
Well, Osborne took you a little bit out the way,
Yeah.
but you kind of stayed in that whole corridor. Okay.
Yep, and I did actually worked at Hampton Elementary School
Okay.
as well. Did 1 year there, and another school was Arts and Academics Academy. So
Okay.
those was the schools that I went to, and then ended up working, being at the Shule, and then working with Aisha Shule, and then the prep school, and that's exactly when they went chartered. So I
Okay.
decided, like, okay, I'm going over to the family business, and
Connected.
Yep.
What made you? What connected you to say, okay, let me throw my hat in the ring with DPS? Was it just one of those things like, I want to get a better job? Was it something like in you that led you in that path? What was it?
Well, I know one thing about my mother. She used to say, you need to make sure that you know how to type. You can always get you a clerical job. You can always be an administrator or an assistant. This is just, some people were just taught that you make sure that you have just some other skills that you know that you can get a job. So my mom felt
Okay.
that that's what it was like. Okay. And so getting a job at the public schools was a real cool thing because you got benefits and all of that. So it was kind of cool being able to, just be employed there and, get the insurance and, this is
Yeah.
what that was about.
So
you
it
know,
was more
and-
so like, this is something that's safe, secure, and I can be here. It started like that.
Yes, it started like that, and also to work with children and just be there. So that's when my experiences was, working with children and all of that. Just
And then that's different because
and I did
you were
different
so
jobs there too.
Okay.
So you did payroll. I was an administrator. It was just different things and learned just those
in
levels.
that
So,
processes.
yeah.
And they looking at you like, you look like you my age. I know the kids was like,
Yeah, and that's actually I was. It was like a couple of maybe we were like a couple of years apart at that time. Yeah,
So-
from a senior.
Yep.
Just maybe seriously like a year older or two, and that's it. So
yeah,
that
they
was an
coming up to
interesting.
you like, give me a hall pass.
basically.
Like, I work here.
Or can I have your number? No, sir, you can't. No, young man, you can't.
No, for real. Let me get your number.
Yeah,
So-
that was interesting.
So this in this journey, and it's funny, you know somebody for so long. Shule, you end up at Aisha Shule. Aisha Shule, we've spoke about this on this podcast before, but I'm introducing it if someone's just watching now. African-centered school, founded by Mama Imani Humphrey. Baba Kimfense has said, like, Mama Annie Mori had a whole lot to do this. Mama Malkia had a lot to do this. And it was like a community of people in a thought process, but an institution. What led you in to say, okay, as they're onboarding more with these processes, chartering and dealing with the structure of it all a whole lot more, and now you have, like, at that point, you'd have had years of experience dealing with the structure, the machine of it all. What led you to say, okay, I gotta get over here to make sure we're good?
So actually, what happened is that I met her son,
Uh-huh.
and so and my daughter Aziza was a little girl. She was maybe like 2 years old or something, and we came and he said, well, my mom has a school and this and that, and so Aziza enrolled, and so. Basically, and I was working at King High School at the time. And so she started going to school there. And so then, like I said, later on, as I was still working at King and with Detroit Public Schools, when they had started the charter school, I said I wanted to come and then needed to help to build with the skills that I had already working in high schools. So it was just an easy thing to do. It was just an easy transition. So, but I knew that I liked being there because it was liberating the minds of our people, our children, the cultural value that it would add, and I wanted to help to build and be a part of that.
What was the difference? Because you onboarded with a skill set of knowing kind of how, I guess, traditional schools were run, and now you enter the space of the African-centered school. What was the difference?
For me, it was the difference that the whole child was being nurtured. We were learning about ourselves, and when I was in school, we didn't learn about, it was certain black folks that you learned about, just the regular, and not even taking anything away from
Yeah.
those folks, but it wasn't like that. It wasn't intense like that. Although I did have uh, experience with Inner City Sub Center with Paul Taylor. I grew up with all of them, Marvis Cofield, and them, so I had exposure to that when I was 14 years old.
To
But
African Center education.
yes, and all, and just that whole about us, and so, but it wasn't cultivated. It wasn't cultivated, but I remembered that as it wasn't cultivated in any other area besides where I went to actually receive that. And it was down there with those brothers and sisters. Down there was a place that I know that I can actually get that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and I was all in. And so then when Mr. Cofield actually came and worked at Kettering High School when I was in the 11th or 12th grade teaching martial arts. And so that was so cool to connect again, with those teachings and that upbringing, and just have it to be reignited. And so working at the Shule and being coming into that family, it was more intense. It was just almost like each time it just got to another level. And so it was just different. It was more family like there. Sometimes in the bigger institutions or the traditional ones, familyhood, learning how to prosper and everything. Just all of that wasn't there. The Shule gave you a base of where you came from. A foundation, and so that's, for me, that wasn't built in the high schools, and I didn't see it. It just wasn't, in everyday school life.
So you speak of this not necessarily being in where you transition from, and then seeing a different way. It broke a lot of hearts and minds after people said, "Man, why is the Shule closing? Why is the Shule closing?" But as many people said, the Shule closing, which things have reasons and seasons. It was a lot of support that was given almost after the fact. And right now, this movement around, making sure an African Center school arise again and exist here, especially in this city. What was it like beforehand? Because just knowing Mama Hasina, and that's another interview, Mama Hasina, I know you're watching this. I want you to be here as well. I want you to tell your Detroit is Different story as well, as a creative, a visionary, and someone that I have more respect for your mom's work, and I can't tell you enough, but even your work in carrying that legacy, what it's like. But what was it like as things were changing and seeing, seeing the shifts? As like, I guess, like the tea leaves were showing that this is just going to be a harder road to climb, and in as much as we want to do this, maybe we may need to shift about how we're going to deliver this love to the children.
So, like you said, it did end the actual brick and mortar, the actual day-to-day of it. But the thing about it is with the Shule, what it did is that it implanted things in myself and also the children, so that we can branch out, so that the brick and mortar doesn't necessarily have to be there. There are still Shule thinking individuals, out there that are still spreading the love and doing the work in other different kinds of ways. And we talked about this earlier about my elders and ancestors. It's like, I know what to do. I saw what they did, how they built institutions, how they taught self-sufficiency and self-reliance. And so it was just, okay, this is basically what you do. I saw what they did to make things, did kuumba, creativity, make something beautiful than where you once found it. You see these. And so I saw all of those examples, and I believed and I felt it. And so we just, so you have these branches that are going to carry out the work. So Yeah, that's and everything is being done that we were basically taught. The children were taught, and I see it all over. Just from some of the students that we had, even from some of the teachers, like where they're even going right now, because they were younger than Mommy Mani, which is us, and Mama Inamwoe, and Mama Malkia, and just Marvis Cofield, and all of those folks. And so it's basically us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like them, like right now. It just feels so funny.
So now I'm gonna pivot your
I'm them,
story.
look like.
I'm gonna pivot your story to like our reconnection from I was a Shule kid, and I've always known I was there kind of like after I was there before you were there, but just you connecting through your sister, who's my cousin, Maiwa. Oh, we love Maiwa. She's coming back on soon too. So
And we brought our kids together and
Yes.
singing it to the Shule together.
Yes.
They were there, so yeah.
Yes. And and with it, so like I would see I'm older kid, so it would just be different. But then one day somebody's like, "Hey, we got to get some flyers out for an event, man. Have you gone to the strip in Highland Park of these different stores on Woodward?" And I was like, and then I'm thinking to myself, like, strip of Highland Park on Woodward with stores. Like, you mean where Chantonique's is? It's like, I dropped something off over there. Miley and them, yeah. Lynn's, I got you. And it's like, nah, it's another strip. I was like, you mean next to the Murrays? And it's like, nah, man. It's like, I'm like, that's like walking distance from my house. I walk in the shop, and it is like candles, meditations, it's music, it's like a feel, it's like spiritual heal. It was hard to even envision. Then I see Mama Shu. And I'm like, this your story? You're like, yes. He was like, yes, brother. So there. How did the shop exist? I didn't know. I dropped off some flyers, and then I was like, okay, I gotta come back. I know I bought something probably from my mom or something like that. Like, the shop, how did that come about?
So how that came about was my friend who lived in Highland Park. She stays in New Orleans now. Her name is Sani. So she had a shop called Stolen Legacy, and I had started a shop, me and Mama Talipa, called Heaven on Earth Spiritual Products. Rented a little space in the back of that, so which was on the other side of Woodward, not on the other side of Woodward that you're talking about. It's a brick building that got burned. That's there now, and it's kind of condemned and everything. Well, we had a store in the storefront there, so we operated both of the stores. We moved across the street and started something called the Black Hole, Hole spelt with a W, WHOLE, which basically was a collective of businesses in the same space so that we can all, prosper together in just one space. And so that's how we got to the other side of Woodward. So I'm thinking that was like 1998 when we were
opened.
Stolen Legacy and opened as Heaven on Earth Spiritual Products. Moved across the street, and it was the Goddess Marketplace. And then the Goddess Marketplace was inside of the Black Hole with other businesses inside, as well as Stolen Legacy was still in there as well, but we called it the Black Hole.
And you did something that, shout out to Bill Ross with this, you did something that is tough. Being black and in business and working retail is tough. But you were opening that store. I want to say, like, it wasn't a day that I went into that store and I didn't see Mama Shu. And I would stop in sometimes erratically on stuff. You was like, yeah, I can sell some of your CDs, brother. We got to work this out. You were like, yeah, we can try this. We can try that. I don't think I've ever pitched a concept creative to you and you said no. It's always, yeah, we just have to, and it was amazing because I'm like, she actually keeps the store like all the time. Like the other day, I'm at Verizon. I saw it was a guy with a marker that said, "On break, we be back." I'm like, what in the world is going on with it? You were always like, what was that focus? Was I just happenstance be there? But it seemed like you put a lot of energy into the retail space.
We did. Sonny, I, all of us that was involved. There was another a sister there too. I don't know if you know her. Her name is Yvette. She's the Motown Witch. We
Mhm.
all had a space in there. We just created the space to keep it thriving, and we all had shifts. And I
Mhm.
created a schedule for each. So somebody would be in there Tuesday and Thursday. Everybody had their days. That's how it was. Saturdays, I was mostly there Saturdays. But you probably did. I was there every day after I left school, the school job. And
Mhm.
so I was there. So, and then sometimes on lunch break, but
Mm.
mostly definitely when school is over, came and worked in the shop.
And that's probably why, because it definitely would be later in the day
Yeah.
when I'd be
Yep.
around. And I'm like, is Mama Shu always like, what's going on? So I'm getting to this like in the classic Detroit is different story of like you almost are like life is, I love the Karate Kid, like Mr. Miyagi-ing you through all these different life
I know. I'm trying
experiences
to sit up here and remember,
that
recall some stuff too.
that that basically build and come together that almost give you like the paramount wisdom and experience to do exactly what you're doing now.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the work in retail in Detroit, and this you were doing this at a time in the but like this was before, and that's Highland Park too. So like it ain't even Detroit. So you're doing a retail space in the dead center of Highland, like almost every headline you heard about Highland Park at that point in time. And I'm not saying it's a bunch of shining headlines now, but it's like libraries closed, no more school department, no more street lights,
Fires.
yeah, fires, no police department, no. It was like water is basically the state of Michigan says, yo, the whole city owes us a tax. Forget your water department. Like almost every story. And you are like, nope, it's time to have a space on here in Highland Park, a retail space at that. Because running retail, now I'm gonna talk right here to the camera just for all you people that want to run retail, and I want you to speak on it too. Of all the businesses you can run, and restaurants are hard because you need to work your margins right with restaurants, but you're going to turn over dollars. It's just when I say work your margins right, you can't say, oh, Little Caesars is selling a pizza for $5, so I got to sell a pizza for $5. You got to know how much every ingredient cost and put that into the process. Retail is harder because when you have a brick and mortar retail space, and you not only got to get people in there, you got to get people in there and then open up their wallet and spend some money.
Mm-hmm.
That can get difficult because when you sit in there and you open the store at 9:00 in the morning and you wait till 1 and you get like 2 customers that just come around and look, but you got to stay open because that one person at 1:30 may come in there and buy $400 worth of something.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to keep a high energy. You can't be like, oh, here go another person in here just looking. You had that type of energy. So can you share a little bit of your presence of mind, just staying in the zone, working that type of retail? What committed you to that? Because I look at all retailers that do it for over really, and almost like in retail, it's like if you can do it for a month, great. 2 months, great. You did it for some years, which is like shocking.
Mm-hmm.
How?
So I think one of the things is just the whole concept of collective businesses. And I think that just the different businesses that we had coming in, they offered different things. And I think that it was the products and the services that we also offered. We offered products and services that help to elevate you, elevate you mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Like you said, with candles, incense oils, black books, nutritious food, oils, incense, things like that. And so we actually drew, because we would burn incense out in front of the shop, and so that would draw. And so basically we wanted everybody to prosper, so everybody had a piece of it. So just think about it. If there's 4 businesses inside of this one space, and we're in here, that means that all of those customers are going to come in, and then they're going to be exposed to every single thing else in there. So we have a good 4 or 5 businesses in there consistently. And so so basically that was just helping each other. So when they came in, that they were exposed to what we had, and what this other person had, this business had, and what this other business had. T-shirts, we had the music in there. We had beautiful T-shirts that had artists on the front, all of that. And it was also a space where new artists, folks who wrote books, whatever they were, even short consignment contracts. We had all of that. So it was just a bunch of just a potpourri, just folks just coming and milling. And so it just wouldn't just be for you. So it was just for everybody. And that would just bring customers, and everybody would end up getting to play from it. So I think that right there is the thing that kind of helps things to go when you doing things together with someone, as opposed to just doing it all on your own.
And
Especially if you're beginning in business, it's also a space where if you want to try out something, and this may be your first time of even being an entrepreneur, you can come in there and set up something for 30, 90 days to see, how you like it. So it was a space for that too, to introduce folks to running business.
and that's and I put my hand up as people are watching, because I was one of those people where I co-signed and had my seat. My first album, Preaching to the Choir, was there, and a good co-signment deal, because sometimes those co-signment deals is tough. You'll give 30 CDs and be like, I know I gave you 30 on this day, and then it's like you're trying to catch up with the person, and then you never catch up with the person. But like I say, Mama Shu was always there. It's like, look, brother, you sold 3 pieces, and it's like, damn, I had 7 people saying they gonna go get it today, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if you like to see the inventory, it's right here. It's like, I trust you. It's like, I was betting on that 70. I walk away with this 30. So this onboarding of, like, even in the entrepreneurial space, bringing community together. Then you connect to the schools, kind of connect community. And now that brings to the next project of Avalon Village. Like I say, it's like all these different experiences, I think, have prepared you in different ways for where you're at now. Especially when it comes to community. Like, I'm still one to still see it on a large scale, because you're still balancing many personalities, especially over money and timing, and like I say, because Mama Shu, we knew, if in my mind, if I'd have known that was the deal with the space, I'd have been like, yeah, I want a space, because at the end of the day, I know Mama Shu gonna be there for when anybody gonna be here. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, and so that's carrying weight for those that may not necessarily carry that weight. Now you have created, as we spoke the other day, like a city within a city. So some people may onboard you from the Ellen DeGeneres show. Some people may onboard you from the Today Show. Some people may onboard you from what, the local papers or local press or other interviews or what they've heard. But this nook and cranny, you've created a true village in one of the spaces. As much as I said, like business wasn't happening in Highland Park, creating like a living oasis for living wasn't happening in Highland Park at that time either. And it's strengthening more so now. So the same vision you had, and basically, look, I can take one of the most, I guess, labeled suppressed areas and turn this into a retail space. I think kind of that same intuition you put into the village. So explain the village. How did that come about?
How did that come about? So when we had the black hole, I was living on Rhode Island Street, and I stayed over there for 4 years. How the village came about, and I was working at the Shule too, so it was just doing both of those things. And so every day I would pass Avalon Street, heading to the freeway, and I would look over and like, wow, look at that block. It was just jacked up, actually. It was terribly blighted. I mean, mattresses and boats and cars are just visibly jacked up, with a lot of houses on there that needed to be demolished, just blighted.
Also, for people from this neighborhood, when Gretchen Whitmer says, we need to fix the damn roads, that's something our governor says. Okay, the potholes that existed around Avalon, especially at that time, it wasn't your usual pothole. It wasn't no like, oh man, I bust a tire. It was like, yo, you may have to walk away from your whole vehicle, but continue as well.
Right. And so I would look down that block and was like, wow, that block, it just looked like it was just dead, totally dead. And so I began to think about like, wow, if I had that block, I would just go ahead and build me a village. I'll put this and that there. And I'm thinking about all of what I would put. So it was just a vision.
And this
so
is like during the drive.
This is during the drive every single day, just always looking down there. And then sometimes I would go down the block, make a U-turn, and just, you know, a couple of times just like, here's what I would do. And I was living on Rhode Island. 6 months after my son Jacoby got killed, he got hit and run driver. I was riding. It was on Martin Luther King's birthday, and we were going to the Shule to do some work on Martin Luther King's birthday. It was, day of service. We were going to do something. And the house that I was looking at, that corner house that I'm in now, it became for sale, and something said, turn down the block. I turned down the block, and I saw the for sale sign in the window. And I decided to purchase that house and move over there, bring my ministry over there, and basically fix up the block. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to build the village on that block. I wanted to build things that basically our city at the time needed assistance in. You know what I'm saying? To help
like
to
I said,
supplement
everything.
Yes, and so I'm like, okay, so I can just compact everything on just this whole one block. This is what I'm thinking. That was my vision. And then the house was, let me see, it was like $5,500, and I purchased it for $3,000. That corner house, and I'm telling you, I raised money for it. I had my income tax check. My girl from Chicago gave me $1,500, and then I had a Shule check. I put all of those together. And it was so funny because when I was on this phone with the real estate person, and I was just trying to be like, I don't have 55. I said, I'll offer you 3,000 like that. He said, well, okay, we'll take it. I'm like, bet, hung up the phone because I didn't even have the 3,000. You know how it is, like, okay, I'm gonna get. So I'm like, oh my God, I got to get this money before it's time to close.
Time out. Let me tell the people watching. This is what you do as a visionary.
Yes.
Sometimes you gotta, it's gonna happen.
I was like, I was wheeling
because
and
if
dealing.
if you limit yourself to the sky that exists, you gonna set a ceiling. Sometimes you gotta just be like, hey.
And I pulled the 3,000 together, and it closed and everything, and then moved over there. It was all boarded up still and everything, but it was still in good condition. Pipes and stuff needed, but nothing was like terribly torn out or anything. Hardwood floors and everything. So I stayed in there while it was boarded up. And
it's a winter. For people that don't understand, Martin Luther King birthday means this is a winter move.
Well, I didn't do it right away.
Okay,
It's 6.
Okay.
I didn't close on the house until May.
May
of 2008.
Okay.
Yes, that's when we closed on it. So then just fixing it, making sure that basic plumbing was working in there and all of that. So worked on it and then moved in there, but still left the windows boarded up until I just got everything else together inside the house. Until we got everything inside the house. In workable order. I remember being in there and in the basement was all cleared out, and I didn't have a tub or anything in there, but the water was on and everything. And so we had the water spouts where now a sink is in there, utility sink. And I remember taking my shower stuff downstairs and everything and actually using that to take a shower with my flip-flops and stuff. And I went in this cold basement. So I'm like, okay, it wasn't nothing. It was just still kind of spooky looking or whatever, a little bit. Yeah. But that's what I did until we got everything all together down in there. And yeah, it was just a long process of getting it together to where to how it looks now. And so that was initially, so the goal is to go over there and to go and transform that space from blight to beauty, and to just create something wonderful for our people, our community, to have a homework house, to be able to have a park. So simultaneously, I bought that house, and also I created Jacoby Rod Park in the name of my ancestor child at the time. And so that's what was happening at the same time. So working on the house and also creating and cleaning these lots. And so it took about 9 years to actually clean the whole block. We took a lot at a time. Every summer it'd be a goal, some of the students at the W.E.B. Du Bois Academy came. We had some of the kids at Barber. I worked with the brothers at the Rescue Mission. They came. So we're talking about just every summer, it was always something different because working with the guys at the Rescue Mission, it was just kind of transit. I would see them sometimes, and then they may go somewhere else to another shelter or something like that. But those men are really the ones that did a lot of the grunt work. I'm talking about over the years because I supplied jobs for them. They would want to come. So they got out a certain time, and then they had to be back in at 10. So some of them, they didn't want them to stay there just sitting around them. So they would come. So I got some benches and had lunch and everything too. And they would come over and work for 3 hours and give them lunch and everything. And they had a space to actually sit because they couldn't sit over there at the rescue mission. They didn't want them to, be hanging out
loiter.
around, like that. So I was like, okay, come over here and you can help us build a village and stuff, and we can do this. And so created an employment system actually for them, and basically paid them by cash, but also gave them lunch too for helping out for the day. So basically created that, and that's how a lot of the whole block got cleaned until we started getting more volunteers involved in everything. So then, that's the beginning stages of it.
Okay, and for people watching this, I want them to really catch it, as you've given this story many times before, but I just want to put some different pins in a lot of these talks, because even when people say, hey man, you can buy your block and I want to do this and I want to do that, great initiatives. But the work in the practice of it takes different, I don't want to say the term sacrifice, but you have to understand the grander vision and goal. And, I think it was the comedian Patrice O'Neal that said this. I had this in one of my songs. It's like, when you're explaining your dream to someone else, it just seems far-fetched. They're going to think you're crazy. You got it almost takes a propensity for crazy to do some of this, because it's a vision where you see it, like you touch it. It's like, I know what's going to happen. Right now I have the leveled out field where it needs to be graded, and they had to put grass seed down, and there's no water over there. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, when I get grass seed, how am I going to get water over here? But I see the vision of what's going to happen when the shipping containers get over there, how things are going to happen. And that's where knowing a Mama Shu helps, because it's like, okay, she's done it. So it's a context for what this is. It's never going to work like how the vision is here, but it can happen.
Yes.
So I want people just to know that, like, part of the journey is all of this. Because if you just look at the razzle dazzle, you're going to miss the other points in the journey where this is a dream that is here. Your mom, your dad, your partner, your kids, your best friend, nobody else is gonna see it. You're gonna walk through faith and them antennas that are going to the higher places to get there. And I want people to connect to that. So that's why I like this story, because like you say, also the time and patience. It took 9 years just to clear. But even during those 9 years that it was clearing, it was still projects, it was presentations, it was programs happening.
Programs happening all the time in the space that I already had, which was that house. The homework house really started in the living room of that house with $100 Budco grant that I had gotten from Perrin Emmanuel and Jerome Drain, $100, and bought some books and stuff from. I mean, that's just the early. That was like 2000. I found that stub too. It was like 2008 or 9 that they gave me that check, and I got to take a picture of that too, because I told them, I said, when I find that in my files, I'm gonna show. But yes, it was. I was working with the space that I had, and that's what I do. I still do what you do in the space that you have to do it in. You don't have to have the brick and mortar. You don't have to have the walls. So I had programs without walls all the time, mostly in the summer, real hard, because of course I could be outside and in the vacant lots that were already cleaned up, and I didn't own any of it either. I just basically was the stewardess over the land, and that's what basically happened until we started to buy in like 2016, when I decided the village was always a thing, but when it goes up to another level, and then other things start to happen. It just kind of elevates. So you getting, you've done a lot of the groundwork. Okay, here go the next stage of it. The next stage happened as far as cleaning up is when I'm gonna tell you when I was getting ready to do some funeral home work. I'm a minister, been ordained for 20 years. And I was like, okay, well, I was gonna go and help and work at the funeral home, with a friend. I was like, okay, I can just add that to my services and everything. For some reason, that never did happen or click. I don't know what happened. We even took the photos and everything to do it, but it never came to fruition. Mommy Imani died on her birthday, which was March the 8th. And I remember sitting in the dining room and and man, it was on the day, and I heard this. Next. I just heard this loud and clear. Next. And then I heard the voice of how she used to say my name, Shamayim. Gone, Shamayim, gone. I swear, gone. Like, and it's almost like, the hand, like, gone, like that. And I was like, okay, boom. The thing about it is I'd already had some seed money provided by one organization that supports the village still to this very day, but I just still didn't move on it. Like, okay, I'm going to build this village. Didn't know how to even, start it as far as like, okay, formally, let's get down with it, And then when I heard that, it was just time, and that's when it happened.
That's powerful.
Yeah, that's exactly when it happened. I was in the dining room all by myself, and I'm just like, this conversation, like, gone now. I'm like, okay, and then that's when it was really on.
As y'all watching this, I mean, I'm getting inspired. It's like goosebumps are for real. Like, I ain't even being, because it's in that same space where I'm looking at what I'm doing with a lot of studio. I'm so glad you came by and saw what that was, and I'm looking at what's next. And like we said, it takes a propensity, like, my theme song this year, and I'm sure my engineer that you just met, Joe Black, is getting sick of hearing it. It's Gladys Knight's I've really got to use my imagination.
Oh, yeah.
To keep on keeping on. You know what I'm saying? And I'm feeling like, it's like when I was a kid, it's like this with a lot of music. Like, I didn't really feel that song, but now that's the theme song, and find a good reason, to keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you get the grant. So this is for people, because now I'm getting in this space. Because like when you're the organization without the grants, you thinking like, damn, they don't never give grants to real black people. I'm doing real black stuff. They always giving it to the Sambos or whoever. You know what I'm saying? They don't like me because I'm not in the fraternity or the sorority or whatever. Then it's like, all right, we're gonna put the ball in your hand. Here you go. All of those excuses. Here you go. And now you're like, okay, now I can get active. Then you got to really question it. It's going to be a gut check yourself. You get the 15,000, or let's just say the 5,000. Now you're going to come at capacity and be like, damn, that 5,000 really wasn't where we was at. Because now that I got 5, you're tapping into your imagination more. Now you need 10. You get 10, you need 30. You get 30, you need 100. You get 100, you need 5 million. And you get 5 million, you need 50 million, because it's so many more resources. When you give a creative more resources, you're going to tap further into the imagination. It's never like you're going to turn around and say, we solved every problem we need in this community now. So now I can kind of just fold my arms and say, okay, that's it. People just want to play basketball. Nope. We need tennis. We need a swimming program. We need a dance program. We need a ballet recital hall. We need an amphitheater. We need everything in this community that people will want to connect with, where they come back home over this way and say, damn, I neglected this whole area. I didn't see this vision. Mama Shu has crystallized and basically put 2020 vision on what can be created. And I look at your story, as much as I love the village, and I see what's happening in the village, and I'm like, damn, I can do that in my neighborhood. And I think that same thing kind of carries out, because we can empower ourselves. So that's where the goosebumps come from.
And I want to say that even the funding, a lot of people, when they see that you're building and you're doing stuff, so how did you get this? Who gave you a grant doing this? I was like, I started selling fish sandwiches for $5. Like, that's really like, nobody owned land or anything at first. We were just making sure that it looked decent and beautiful because I didn't want to look at blight. I didn't want to look at hopelessness. I wanted to sit on my porch and I didn't want to just take care of the lot right next door. I'm like looking at this blight across the street, this blight right here. And that's what a lot of us do sometimes. We have our own grass looking all nice and neat and we have our own area, but the rest of the block and everything is being jacked up. And to me, that affects me too. Looking at the rest of it, you want to, and then just think about the children going back and forth. That they're passing that blight. Wouldn't they rather see grass that's so beautiful, just like further down Woodward, in other communities? Flowers, eclectic shops, different things like that. And I always tell, whenever I do talks and invited to do lectures and stuff, I always say that it never begins with the money. It just never begins with the money. It begins with the beautiful thing that you want to do. And if you have passion about it and you really, really serious about it, then the rest is going to come. It always do. As long as you keep on that, stay focused through all of the challenges, and it is sacrifices. It truly is. Stay focused on that thing that you feel that's important. And it's just going to materialize. And then what happens is that the more you sacrifice and the more you stay focused, then it unfolds more and more for you. So I never know. I don't know exactly how it's going to unfold. It's just kind of an organic thing. And I go by intuition and I go by timing. So if it feels a certain way, then I'm like, okay, then, and I don't tug or force. So the homework house took 5 years to get finished, And just for an example of, something taking a while. So maybe not funding all the time, but every chunk of funding that I had, every volunteer that helped to get it done, then that's how I actually did it. So that was just more time. But I appreciate the time that it is actually taken because the foundation is stronger. You learn so many different things. You learn these things that you're going to need for when it just pops off even more and more. You're just growing. So I do appreciate that, and it has and it gives you a chance to bond with the communities and be a space that is there that they can actually rely on for services and children's programming and everything. So after cleaning it up, and we did the Kickstarter in 2016 after the decision. We started, campaigning and getting out like, hey, building a village, this is what we're going to do. And we went to Kickstarter, the Kickstarter campaign. And so my team, they wanted to do like $50,000. And I said, $50,000? I said, that ain't even going to get us a roof. I mean, I'm like, I said, we got to go bigger. And I was hearing Jacoby over my shoulder. And he was like, go big, go big. Big. He said it 3 times, and so we thought of a number. It was $241,900. That's what $241,900. That's what the number was. So with Kickstarter, you had to raise that in 30 days, or you would get none. It's not like GoFundMe. You got to make sure that you hit that number that you say that you're going to hit, and so. We hustled and we campaigned and everything, and then one of the partners, his name is Justin. We needed a little kick because you know how you just kind of lagging behind or whatever a little bit as far as the campaign. And Robin Swartz, she's my PR consultant. And she did Fox 2 for like 17 years. And so she was just starting off in her own business as PR, being her own PR business. And they say, hey, we may need your help to help get this along and everything, and and some of your expertise. And then she called Charlie LaDuff. And when she called Charlie LaDuff, he came and he did the first interview of our work that we were doing over there. And after Charlie LaDuff, it was on and popping after that, as far as us being able to share what we were doing, showing people how you can actually transform your own blighted area. These are some of the steps that you can take. And so people watched and saw how we did it, And then I started purchasing the land, little by little, land bank. And so it was people moving out off the block, as a matter of fact. and some of the houses were beginning to get tore down. You know, the city had already slated certain houses to be, so it was fortunate that a few came off of on Avalon Street, and so that just helped to clean it even more and get it, less blight and everything. And so after that, it was just a matter of just and this is what I did too to help my vision. I had one of the civil engineer volunteers. He was I told him, I said, take a picture of the whole block from the aerial view of it, and then I went to Office Depot and got some yellow stickers. And what I did is that I put the yellow stickers where all of the blight was and all of the empty vacant lots. And I said that, and I named what it is I wanted to be in those spaces. And so those are like my own ghetto blueprints, you know. It just looks so lame right now, but it's still cute. And I still have it in a folder.
I love it.
And actually, I'm going to frame it.
I was going to say that's classic.
That was my original blueprint and my original plans, and that was the way that I could actually do it. So now we've grown to 45 properties. We own 98% of the block between Woodward and 2nd Avenue. All of the blank spaces are practically ours. We have 5 structures, and there's 6 residents that stay on the block right now. Mm-hmm. And so we were on the Ellen Show. We had a house that was donated. We could have used it for retail, or I could have lived in the house. But I'm like, okay, we build in a village. We need a village hall. So that's our actual village hall, that building that you see. And it's really different looking from all the structures. And that's what I like about the village, too. It's like, it's all kinds of stuff. Okay, we got a shipping container, this building for a store, you know, the Goddess Marketplace, and it's inside of a shipping container. And everything in the village is built with a green infrastructure in mind, and weaning us off of, like right now, gas. And I'm just saying, you know, things like that, because first of all, we wanted to build smart and build affordable. And for us, like the Homework House, it has geothermal heating and cooling. So it's not ran by gas. We have a solar roof, and about 3 of our structures have solar roofs on them right now. We have 5 solar street lights with Wi-Fi capabilities that we just got installed with Solidarity, and through a campaign that it was called We Lit Avalon. And so it was like, okay, Solidarity, we did this whole thing. And so we were funded half of the money. It was like, we got to raise $75,000, right? And so we raised half of the money, and it was matched. We would get the match. And so then we got another donation in order to put lights in Parker Village. So we were able to spread the light that way in Highland Park. And thus far, they've done 17 solar street lights. But we were the very first relit block in Highland Park when the lights got repossessed in 2011. And 10 years later, we relit the whole block. So now we're hoping that right there spreads. And that was the mission of the village too, is to show people what people think. Sometimes things are just so impossible. Oh my God, I'd just rather move. This is too much work and everything. But if you get over there and just like an elephant, you just take a little bit at a time, a little chunk at a time. That's how I look at building the village. Like, okay, this little bit here, until it all gets done, and I'm in no rush.
That's powerful. Like I say, it's you're giving so much game, or that's how I interpret it in my hip hop vernacular. But you're providing knowledge and insight, I guess, the more formal perspective. But you giving game right now of how to deliver it and how to build something. And a key element is you got a team of people to pull things like this together. And then when you're, you know, as they say, you know, heavy is the head, where the crown lies. How do you keep the synergy of the team? Because different people have different talents. Different people have different inspirations of being even a part of community projects. I remember I was getting off the phone with one of my partners that, because, you know, I'm like you. I'm like somewhat in the business space and I'm in this community space. It's like I'm in both, and the creative space. I'm multifaceted. But in being multifaceted, I was like, look, man, being a brother connected to the community, especially being Black, like, it's a different perspective. And this is one of my white homeboys. And he was like, nah, man, if a person's supposed to deliver on a job and these are the tasks, man, they supposed to deliver. And if you don't, you got to cut the paycheck. I was like, nah, man, that's just not how it works with our people. when it works with our people, just due to the scarcity of the resource of money or whatever that asset is. If I know that oftentimes when I reach out to some of the people and I say, look, I would like to hire you for, for instance, like the music director, we negotiating. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to bring you on board for what we do with a lot of studio. It'll be this many performances plus a couple others. I know at that capacity, him being a father and everything else, I'm thinking he's accounting for that money for real. Not like, no, invoice me and in 30 days I can pay you and nothing like, no. He's talking to his wife like, I just got a job. We can cover lights. We can cover car insurance. I can help pay for the braces our daughter needs. Like, I know that being black. And then he's like, well, if they don't finish up and deliver on the job, I'm like, but see, that's the stretch being black and connected to community where I have to have a more holistic view. Now, do I encourage and do I push and do I accept anything? Am I just like, I guess, throwing away resources and not getting what's done? No. But I am very mindful of engaging my people. It's a different amount of love I got to give. And really, that's what I kind of learned. And I'm more honored looking at Baba Malik Yakini, yourself, and so many others, because it takes a different patience. Like when Baba Malik said, like, yeah, man, when you work with our people, it's a different type of, you have to have a different elasticity and flexibility and understanding where our talents are and where our skills are, because we want to flourish, but the noise of being a black in America can kind of disconnect us sometimes. And it makes sense. It makes sense because it can diswire any of us. How do you keep your team together? How do you onboard so many of these different resources and all these different people and doing different things, keep them focused, keep them centered, and then still fill their cup up with love?
One of the things that that helps is that you recognize what a person is actually good at and what makes them happy and what they're doing, and that's how I choose people, or make a selection or consider. I would say someone like, okay, then they like to do that for certain things. That's what I do. I like to fit them where they feel good at. And therefore, I know that you'll get the best productivity. They'll get the best experience with it, whatever it is that they're doing. I also like to encourage new businesses and brothers and sisters who it might be their first time doing a thing. Well, hey, you can come on over here or whatever and try to do your thing, what it is that you're trying to do. Because that's actually the space of the village. All that land, I call the Shule children up like, hey, y'all, I got all this land over here. Let's build something. What is it that you want to build? Let's do it. That's how open the space is. So it's not my space at all. It's just like, okay, I'm just, basically facilitating it so that the rest of the community can grow and develop off of that. And so to me, and then you getting that you're getting the best energy from them because they're happy and enthused. So sometimes all of that other stuff may not happen to where, okay, dealing with just some of the basic stuff like attendance problems or, just issues and everything, because they're enjoying exactly what it is that they want to be doing, And so that's why I say for me, things organically unfold because there's a certain trust that I would like to have as well, because I'm really, I'm guarded as it relates to building the village, and not really guarded, I'll say protective of the village. And now it's growing so that, the world basically has it now, but it's time though. It's like, okay, I got to go ahead and, so that part right there been something else. You're like, okay, you got to really just trust certain, you just got to trust certain energies, read it the best way that you can. Hopefully you choose people that are in alignment with the goals that you have for the community. And then that's it, and only the serious ones. And then one thing about me, I don't want anybody that is not productive because it's so serious, So I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want you to waste my time either. Seriously, I know that we have to do this. This is like a mandate mission to help revitalize this so that other neighborhoods can see a way to be able to thrive too. So I'm real serious about just to who's around me and who works with me. And so like I said, we have like Mama Boniswa is on board, Mama Nosy Belle, Mama Hasina. It's certain people still that you still have back there old school, you know, that can just Mama Taliba, Mama Maya, when them all of them, you know, they just still they're in the background just on and active too. But okay, I know I got them, and then you have to expand, and so it's the young brothers and sisters like, okay, y'all, this is gonna be let's go. Let's train you. Let's show you. Here's what we need to do so that you can go ahead and continue the work.
That's so powerful, and you just naturally kind of led into something like I said, for 10 plus years, even longer. Like every time I've run an idea by you, you've never, and it's almost like a grandmother spirit or something. You've never said no. It's always yes, brother. So we gotta, and almost like by leading with yes, it disarms, because I think part of this is we're so used to being told no. Almost sometimes incepted in like thinking someone's going to say no before. Like, like I often tell guys, like I used to like, even though COVID and everything, I used to like just the art of sometimes just, sparking up a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I would see, rest in peace, Kool-Aid and my friend Mayo, like before when I'd be more nervous to approach a woman and stuff, but Kool-Aid I'm like, how did you do that? And it'd just be like, man, it helps me as a comedian. I'm just starting up conversations, and then you get more natural with it. But I would tell guys, and then guys would see me, and they're like, how did you do that? I'm like, well, part of it is you're rejecting yourself before you even, you leading with it. And God, you've probably heard this from men before. You probably don't talk to guys like me, whatever. It could be, I live with my mama, I don't got a car, I don't got a good job. Whatever you say, you've led and you've accepted and gave life to, I probably don't. And now it's in her mind like, yeah, I probably don't. You know what I'm saying? But you've always said yes. It's like, I'm thinking I want to, yes. I just pitched something new that me, Yusef, and Quasi are thinking. You're like, yes, but, then we built the structure and the framework. I think that that's such a healthy way of bringing our people on board. But also, I guess, in my mind, putting them in spaces where they can create most, that's powerful. That's powerful. And then being a steward of that, I guess that fills up your cup with so much more love, because though they're connecting with their own love, they see you as a platform and gateway to get there.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep.
And that's what Mothers of Humanity do. If someone comes and you can help or you can show the way, I don't know what your wonderful, magnificent mind is thinking of. I'm not going to reject it or period. Like, okay, what you talking about? For real, I want in. For real, you just do, and then just bounce it off, and okay, you can, shave this part off and shave this part off, and maybe, and whatever help that you need that I can do to help further that, because that's really what it's about. It's really, that's what the fun of it is for me. It really is. It's like, okay, we got new blood, want to come do this and that. Okay, let's have it. Let's do it. That's exciting to me, because one thing about it is that you're getting that fresh, brand new, creative energy that when you do something, you start doing something, it's like, woo, that fire is high. You getting that top-notch energy of doing it. That's what I want. I want your finest. And so it's that brand new, crisp idea of, what it is that you want to create and stuff. And so I'm geeked, you geeked, boom, let's do it. Now, you may not stay or but at least, you getting your exercise on it. You're getting your experience. You're getting some practice.
And then also that spirit, it was there at the village at high clip.
Yes.
And then when it's not, when they see that it's tougher or it can't connect, they'll walk away. But then the next spirit will come up and be like, oh, you got this whole space ready for a recording studio? Yeah, it was a brother and sister that were thinking about doing something. You got some ideas, brother or sister?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, yeah. And it's like, and it's kicking in. Like, that's so interesting of a way of looking at it, because I guess that's the only way you really get to something new. Yeah. And we're so preconditioned to look at, what's that, the old school, that's my car, keeping with the Jones. We're so preconditioned to look at what already exists and do things. And you know how I'm always coming up with ideas. You too. And I guess that's that propensity of using imagination that
Yes.
connects us to other people's imagination. Going now, it's like this, but you don't end up with geothermal heating in a container space if you were thinking, well, no, it's already going to be the structure. And I read about some place in Seattle that the best way to heat a container space is to do this because that's what has been done. You don't end up with that unless you're willing to be like, you got an idea for that?
Yes, and and that's long term sustainability. That's something that it costs a little bit to start off with, but guess what? We're talking about affordable stuff. We're talking
Yeah.
about a neighborhood that's blighted. I'm talking about using whatever it is that we have right now. So. So using just like systems like that, and even like I said, the civil engineers, hey, we can get this, that. And I was like, okay, call them up because it made sense to me. If it makes sense, and dollars is good,
That's good.
and so that made sense for us to be able to utilize shipping containers to have business in. There's no overhead. You own the lot. You pay maybe $300 a year in taxes on a vacant lot, and the shipping container is movable and it's not on the grid, and there it is.
That's big.
So basically, I do workshops called Thinking Inside the Box for businesses and also backyard businesses.
I'm with
So
it.
those are just some workshops to show people that you can do it another way, and especially now when people are not like on their jobs anymore, folks are like really tapping into their creative, like, hey, we can do this way because they've made to have to do things a different way. That's a way to consider, and folks don't have a lot of money to rent space for $2,000 for a storefront, nothing like that, So, you can plush out what you got. So, the shipping container it looks amazing, actually. We got solar in there and everything, and it's so beautiful. Set out the bistro chairs, open it up, and it's just retail space, and the marketplace is every Saturday in May, the day before Mother's Day. We open it up to 13 women vendors, and they can just call us if they want to be a part of them. Get ready to get the information circulating now. But that's a weekend goddess-centered market for women entrepreneurs. So any women who want business space is from 12 to 8, and there's traffic because people come to the village, especially in the summertime.
That's powerful. So as we get closer to a close, it's a couple special questions on this other project that I want to ask. Just kind of talking about like how people function and prosper in spaces that are labeled under-resourced, impoverished, forgotten about, blighted. I mean, can you your get up, get out, and get something of this? What ways were you inspired to find opportunity in these spaces and places where people say opportunity doesn't exist?
So I think that maybe it's perception. Some people feel that they have to, when they get out and get something and all of that, it has to be somewhere else. And I just wanted to create it around me. So basically, I'm on the block. For me, when I turn right or left on Woodward, I'm going out into the world because what it is that I have is right there on that block, and that's what we're building it for, so that you can have all of these wonderful things there. So in my mind too, really, I'm creating stuff that I would like to have, like, okay, I want a tea shop. Okay, well, we need this right here. We got to have a garden. This and so really to make sure that I'm comfortable as a citizen and as a woman and as a person, but also I know that other people will enjoy this as well. So the blight was cleaning up for other people. It was for me too. I want to live comfortable. I want to live healthy. I want to not be across the street from blight that has rat nests and all of that, So, that's basically. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Last question in reference to that segment. Coming from where I'm from, share a personal testimony when you were prejudged and showed and proved that not only you were better, but you excel at a higher clip than what that judgment was.
Well, you know what? I would have to say, really, it's been the village. just building the village before, like you said, people think that you crazy or whatever. I thought that some of my own family was like, what? I was like, you know what? We're going to clean up this whole block and I'm going to build a village. And I would just talk about it. I would talk about it to my friends. And sometimes they didn't think that, some of my friends, the ones that's, still around, they knew, but they just thought that you were crazy. And so it was that. And so there it is.
I'm with it.
There it is.
I'm with it.
I mean, for real, it was just a weird thing. Even building with solar and building with a green infrastructure, and we can build a basketball court on the block, in which we have a basketball court called My Three Sons that honor my ancestors' sons right there on the block. Those things, and it was like, you can't. But the thing about it is that they hadn't done it yet. That's all. No experience in it, and didn't really reach out to really try it or do it. So I like this position because it just shows that you really can, and it doesn't have anything to do with the amount of money or anything that you have. It's just the will, and the serious ones. You know the serious ones. And it is a lot of people that want to talk and they want to know, how did you do this or how did you do that and this and that in a real practical way. But this is a feeling. It's a movement. It's a movement into redeveloping neighborhoods. So it's a wave that is going to be infectious and spread. And so, yeah. So how you like me now? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm with it. Speaking the knowledge of the good brother, Big Daddy Kane. Well, not Big Daddy Kane. That's Kumo D. I'm tripping like ever. Kumo D would be if Kumo D said I found out I mixed up both of them.
And it's fun too. And I do want to say one accomplishment that we had in September was the street of Avalon is now Avalon Village. We got it changed through a resolution through City Council, and they voted on it. And so we're waiting on the sign now. So it'll be Avalon Village and Woodward Avenue, and then further down where the corner, it'll be Second and Avalon Village.
I'm with it.
And that was low-hanging fruit or whatever for. I'm like, we got to get that done. So basically, it's just all coming together,
like,
and it's just a lot of fun
on
too.
Avalon Village for real.
Yes. Look, Google it.
Exactly.
Google it.
It's like it's Avalon Village. So that's powerful, Mama Shu.
Yeah.
Share with the people how to connect with you. You got so many things. It's a calendar of events.
I know, yeah.
But how should people connect with you? When should people connect with you? You mentioned the Mother's Day bazaar, but what should happen?
So right now, first of all, you can reach us at the avalonvillage.org. That's our website. We're on Instagram and also Facebook. If you are interested, we had 2 town hall meetings, village hall meetings. We had one on the 26th of March, and then we have one on April the 6th, which is from 6 to 8 p.m. It's at 40 Avalon Street in Avalon Village inside the Homework House. And the village hall is a space where we are talking about the village past, present, and where we're going. We have future plans that was done by U of D Mercy School of Architecture.
Yeah.
Yes, their design
their
center.
Design program.
Yes, and so they delivered beautiful renderings of how the village will look in the future, and basically the things that we're going on. So you'll be able to be caught up. The Mother's Day, day before Mother's Day, I think it's May the 7th. May the 7th or the 8th, we have the Goddess Marketplace. Any women entrepreneurs out there that would like to rent a space every Saturday from May until October, come through. We're looking for 13 women vendors, whether it's food, products, bath and body, clothing, whatever it is. Let us cluster together.
It may be some pizza over there, possibly.
Yes, sure will be. And then we can all pop together. So if enough cluster of us, it'll be a space where people want to come and enjoy women businesses and take
similar
part
to
in
the
women
black
business.
hole concept that you've already perfected.
Yes. And so it's just we just spreading it out. And so those are some of the things that's coming up. And then on 4/11, we have a bonfire. It's called the 4/11 Bonfire. It's in honor of Chinyelu, my ancestor's son, that was killed 1 year ago. And so now we're celebrating his birthday. Would have been his 25th. And so we're doing a bonfire and having a lot of his peers come to. So, and it's also, I'm going to tell you about, and then we can, I guess, be done. So one thing about the children and youth, and especially like Chin's age, that was like 22 and 23 and 24. He had these brothers, and they are like heartbroken, but they want to do something good for the community, and we have to show them how to do those things. Like they do things like in their way, but just like even the bleachers, we had we need bleachers for the My Three Sons basketball court. So we did a fundraiser. So Chin used to always say no faking. So we call it the no faking fundraiser. And it's on the day that he became an ancestor, which is 126. So basically now that is their project every year to raise money for a community project. So if we're raising money for uniforms, if we're doing this for the music program, those brothers and sisters, I said, y'all can handle that. They do that. They recruit for that. They make the money. And that's so it's basically their contribution to it. No matter what they do, how they act, whatever it is, I said you have to have social responsibility and you have to serve the community. So you're going to pay $50 to get into this because guess what? When you're driving by, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, we help put them bleachers in, So we help them in any kind of way, whether it's printing up a flyer or something, but helping them to guide them to do those kind of things. But you do them in their kind of way, too.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Then you're just gonna get. So I already know how these I call them boys. Boy, I already know how they act or whatever and how they are and everything. But guess what? They want to do that, and so people can see them doing those wonderful things. We do Father's Day. We see those young brothers bring their children right there. We all have a good time. I pass out shea butter and give them crystals and incense and things like that and all the little spiritual items and everything to those young brothers. So I know I see something totally different from, a lot of what society tries to say that these young brothers do. So I just got a real soft spot for them, just to, and then they have a healing space as well. So anyway, we have all of that going on. We have our calendar, our whole 2022 calendar on the website. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. You gave more to me. You filled up my cup. We're going to be doing some things together soon. You're going to see more of Avalon Village connected to Detroit is different. And as you all see, a lot of this still incepted through, shout out Mommy Humphrey. I'm a Shule kid, as people should know. So, as you said, it just keeps pouring out. The love keeps going. And like I said, even when you said working with them boys, as you say, it's the Mama Shu ethic of like, she never will say no to you. She's going to say yes. But now it's like, you better have your creativity ready.
Please.
Because she's going to basically give you the array of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's basically like she's going to be your she's the person that will play spades with the person like, I don't know how to play.
Right.
So, don't be cutting.
Don't.
Thank you so much.
I've enjoyed myself. Thank you.
All right. Peace.
Black revolutionaries, distillery owners, Italian fashion retailers, and Motown Grammy winners all share their best stories never before told in any other media outlets on Detroit is Different. Visit DetroitisDifferent.com or download the Detroit is Different app on Apple's App Store or Google's Play Store.